Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Knicks recap and reaction show. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, joined by Jeff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. Oh man, the Knicks lose yet another one, fourth straight loss to the Dallas Mavericks, who came in. Give us a minute, Knick Nation. Who came in limping in. I think they were 17-26 coming in, something like that. And we lost to them 114-97. A lot to talk about, a lot of focus on the defense, and rightfully so. Not a lot of focus on the offense, which has really been broken for a team that's more built to play good offense. And just some questions I have, maybe Cat is not the best player to put next to Brunson. And I'm not talking about his play this season, even going back to last season where he had a career year. There were still questions about those two working together. Maybe he's not the best fit next to Brunson. Maybe Brown is not the upgrade we thought he would be or hoped he would be. Still early, but these are just questions that I'm having. And maybe OG and Mikal Bridges are not the offensive players we thought they would be. This thought that Tom Thibodeau's offense was holding them back. And maybe, Tom just saw they weren't it, and just really trying to limit them and put them in the best possible position to succeed both individually and as a team. Those are my initial thoughts. We'll get into the game. We'll get into the Knicks overall, but I'm past saying it's a extended rough patch. There's something amiss, spiritually, emotionally as well, with this team. And every coach is different. Mike Brown has the right to be who he is. I said that about Thibodeau. I'll say that about any coach. They have a right to their philosophy. They have a right to their personality. But me personally, it just bothers me when he goes at the team, particularly individual players. But what did he say last night? I need everybody to lock in and do their effing job. Well, that includes you, my friend. That includes you, my friend. And I just wonder how the team takes to that. He has a right to it. There's no right or wrong. He has a right to express himself however he wants. I just wonder how the team takes to that. And I'm wondering if there's a fraction between individual players and the coach, or just the team overall and the coach. Did he lose them already? It's only halfway, through the season. Hard to say. Anyway, I'm going to welcome Knick Nation in, and Jeff, we'll start with you. How are you? Salute Nation. How are you? And what's your
I'm
overall?
sad. I know that this is not what we signed up for. I don't think. I'm really stunned. To get boat raced by one of the worst teams in the league for the second time in less than a week is that's more than alarm bells going off. Like if it happens once, okay, you can maybe rationalize it, excuse it, but this is a pattern of bad behavior that is pretty consistent regardless of who's healthy and who's not. These Knicks they're not a team. That's what it comes down to. Like, you can blame whoever you want to. We can, those who aren't fans of Towns can say, well, his efficiency is in the toilet, and that's true. But he also, I don't think Towns is not trying. The guy had 18 rebounds yesterday. So I don't think, from his standpoint, I'm not sure that it's an effort thing, because he's working hard. he's just not working smart. You know, the Jalen Brunson is not a real leader, and a ball hog crowd certainly has their, you know, has their slice of cake too if they want to. The folks who think OG and Mikal are overrated and are not doing what they were signed on to do for on either end of the court, they can get theirs. You know, they are justified at this point too. Those who are criticizing Mike Brown because our offense has gone in the toilet, and you know we were supposed to be, you know, we expected to be bad defensively, not this bad, but when we're equally bad on offense, it's our fourth game in the month where we're under 100 points scored. You know, that's not good. So there's a million different reasons, and depending on who you like and who you don't like, I think that's who gets the blame. But I think that the true answer is this organizational failure from top to bottom, and it starts with Leon Rose. It trickles down to Mike Brown, and then it comes down to not one or two of the players, not just our all-star players, but every single player on that roster. And when the foundations are cracking like they are, it's really difficult to put them back together. It's like when you build a brand new house and then you find out it's got termites in all the walls. You know, what do you do? How do you fix it? Or like I called it in my post that's coming out tomorrow, the Knicks built themselves a palace made out of chocolate, and now it's melting all around them.
Yeah. Before we get to Knick Nation, this is how bad the Knicks are doing. Jersey Rick, 4225. Salute to everyone. I'm one of the silent listeners. Even the silent listeners feel like they got to come in the chat and talk about this. Like, this is how bad the Knicks are doing. Jersey Rick, I appreciate you rocking with us and being one of the silent listeners. Welcome, welcome to the chat. And if you have any comments about the team and what we're saying, be sure to write it down. We'll highlight it. Again, welcome. Knick Nation, again, we're going to get in depth, but just overall, what are you seeing, and particularly last night?
I'll tell you this, it's from watching it on television to actually seeing it live, you get a full different view and a full different perspective of it. And it's worse than we thought. And from watching it on television and even, replaying it, when you see it live, it's so bad, because there were times where you could see where they would, first of all, they would double for no reason. Right. They're doubling guys, constantly. And 80%, I calculated just in my head, about 80%, especially in the first half, where their points came in, is because we would jump to double somebody. The player who, jumps to double, the guy would just veer off, or there would be a circulation of movement, and all of a sudden, boom, he was open. But not the one person would be open at times. At times, there were 2 to 3 guys open. It was at one point I saw two guys in the corner, both wide open, nobody even close to them. But the guy on the other side still shot it because he was open. So I'm saying to myself, how could 3 people be wide open? And we were all shocked. You could just look at the fan base around it. Like, the Garden was quiet the whole thing. There was no energy, nothing was things. There was nothing for us to even come back to get pumped up about. At one point, they were up by 30. I kept saying to myself, hey, if they can get it down to 15, maybe we got a chance. We could barely get it down to 20 before it would jump back up to 25. It was horrible. But there are things that they do, their principles are just bad. So first things first, to me, like I listened, because by the time I got in last night, Freezy show came on. I watched for a while, and I heard him discussing as far as saying Mikal, he pivoted toward Mikal and OG. And I vehemently disagree. And I vehemently disagree because it was the whole team. The only one caveat I will say, Deuce. And the reason why I say Deuce is because you could always see Deuce anticipating where that screen is coming from, or, you know what I mean, to get around the man. But our scheme in general is wrong, period, on how they play it. And they put us in a pick and roll consistently. And when you're in that pick and roll, if you go back to even how Tibbs defended it, what begins to happen is it's supposed to be like a V when you go to defend it, so that the center has to jump out immediately hard and put his arms wide out to freeze the ball handler, to give that ball handler to say, hey, if you're going to come, you're going to come up around, to not give him a path to go downhill. If you look at how we play it, you got the guy trying to get up around the screen, but your center is so far back, he has no chance to stop the guy before he's getting in a motion to go downhill. And by the time he does, he's in the paint, or the guy gets there, he's in shooting motion. So if you touch him, boop, the whistle. And it happened consistently last night. I was so, let me tell you, so I was so disheartened by watching that. There's, you know how we're saying there's a rough patch, is this or that? I don't think there's certain points there's much of a comeback. There has to be personnel has to change. And I would start, because I would have to start with the defensive coordinator, because what he's doing and how he's doing it, it's not working. They figured it out, and it's terrible. I'll leave it at that and try to, rock with you.
Yeah. Because you said a lot. You said a lot.
Yes.
A lot to piggyback. That's right. A lot to piggyback off. So how we try to do it is we'll start with one thing. We'll all piggyback off of it, and then the next person will pick the next thing. I'll pick out from what you said. Let's start with the defense, and then Geoff, you could pick the next topic where we go from there. But piggyback on the defense, I think you're absolutely right. The over rotations for no particular reason. And when you're one pass away, I just thought they were 2 and 3 steps off the ball, particularly Josh Hart. I saw this a number of times. You're one pass away. You can't be 2 and 3 feet away from the 3-point shooter. Now, maybe they're just super, aware or scared of somebody getting in, into the key. That's what it seems like to me. Like it's a little PTSD when it comes to somebody getting, getting into the key. And I get it. Brown wants to protect the paint. That's one of his principles, right? I get it. And so if that's your priority, you probably will give up more threes on average than other teams, but this is like epic proportions. And for me, it's more about execution. I get it. There's some scheme in there as well, but some of this is just basic basketball in terms of how you position yourself when you're one pass away, So, that was an issue. Let me see. I had some other, the transition defense, either not getting back or getting back and not locating the shooters or locating anyone or pointing to, somebody get that person, nobody gets that person. And then the ball goes to him and it's a wide open 3. Now, this is a team that's 26 in 3-point attempts. They take about 32 and a half a game. They took 32 last night. 26th in 3-point percentage. They hit 34% of their 3-pointers. They hit 46.9% last night. They hit 15 of 32. And I think, even if they're not a good shooting team, it's an NBA team, right? If you leave anybody wide open and they happen to get into rhythm, it's really hard to break that. The Knicks gave up 75 points in the first half. Only 39 in the second, but 75 points in the first half. They shot 60% from 3 in that first half. And they had 26 or 27 fast break points. I mean, it's hard to win. And we'll get into the offense later, which to me has been equally as bad. But that transition defense, the 3-point defense, and to me, the defensive IQ across the board has not been great, in my opinion. Geoff, anything you want to add to the defense before you pick the next topic?
Yeah, you can't have Max Christie make 8 out of 10 from beyond the arc. Like, you have to, and according to coach, he was one of their hot button players on the sheet before the game, and you still let him go off for 80% from 3. That's like Steph Curry on steroid numbers. Like, that's insane. And, if Klay Thompson shoots 4 for 7, okay. But, you want to be out on him, but okay. He's one of the greatest shooters the NBA's ever seen. If he has a good game, he has a good game. But Max Christie? Who's that? Like, and every team has had their Max Christie against us. Like, it doesn't matter. I call it the Geico scrub of the night, right? And then there's this guy who averages 11 points a game, and all of a sudden he could drop kick it into the bucket, against us. So, very bad job defensively, and a lot of that is effort. I think it's effort and intelligence. We're not getting to the right spots, but we're not working hard enough. And as far as it's concerned, the lack of location, that's Deuce McBride too. Like, there's a play in the first quarter last night where Towns took an early shot clock 3 and missed, and it led to a fast break, and it was McBride who didn't get to the spot. So even Deuce is having trouble, and he's our best point of attack defender, but that doesn't mean he's a really good point of attack defender. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing as well, is that you can go at Deuce and get buckets. And this is not supposed to be a Deuce hate session. It's just to say that the failure isn't just 1 or 2 guys. It's not because we're just covering for Brunson and Towns. It's a lot more than that, because we've had these struggles when Brunson's been out of the lineup or he's been in the lineup. Like, if it was just those two together, you would have seen when he was out for 3 games, the defense would have been a lot better, but that's not what we saw. And so what I think it is I think this is a team that's not playing for each other right now. And, and for a team that ran their coach out of town at the end of last year to quit on their coach 40 games into this season is an awful look from the roster that was constructed. Like, how big a baby do you have to be? Like, what is it that you want in order to get along? Like, what does it take for this group that is unquestionably talented to give 100% night in and night out? For multiple coaches. Like, I don't really get that part of the equation, and the thing that I want to go to next is, and again, I think he's playing his rear end off the fact that he's getting rebounds, but he's not playing smart. 5 fouls, 5 turnovers, and the shot making inside is not there. I think he's 7% worse on looks inside the arc than he was last year, and he's not making the above the break threes like he was last year. What is wrong with Karl Anthony Towns' shot? It's the same shot diet, but he is not making buckets. And I know he probably, but he wasn't like awful. He wasn't like 4 for 13 or something like that. But at the same time, he's missing a lot of easy baskets inside that I'm used to him making, not just last season, but throughout his career. And he's blowing layups and he's foolish fouls. He kicked the guy in the groin. What are we doing here? It just, and I think that was at a point when we actually did get it down to 15, or maybe it wasn't that low, but it felt like it was maybe getting a little bit more manageable. And then you give up 2 free throws and the ball, and that's a momentum killer. And so, I just don't know what's going on with him, because I've never seen a player of his shooting skill trail off the way that he has. What do you guys think is the explanation for it? Because I don't think it's just he's not trying, because I think he is.
I think he is too. Um, I think it's multiple things. I do think some of it is the offense, but that's not all of it, because he's getting shots where he's used to getting shots. Even in last year's, even last season, when he had his a career year, he's getting those same shots. You could say he's not getting enough. You could say Mike Brown could do some more things to get him easier shots. That's fair. But the shots that he's getting are shots that last year went down for him. And this year, it just isn't. There is a lack of discipline on the offensive end from Karl Anthony Towns. Just a lack of discipline, a lack of, what do we need right now? Do we need this 29-footer right now, or do we need something? Do we need something else? You know, um, I still, for the life of me, don't understand why he tries to overpower smaller defenders who have the leverage on him when he has the height and he has the touch and he could just shoot over the top. Like, why are
Thank
you?
you. Yes.
Why are you? What you don't have anything to prove. You know what I mean? When I see Duncan, he would just turn around off the glass. Patrick Ewing, turn around jumper. Like, you don't have to be Shaq out there. I would like to see them move him around a little more, but I need him to be more disciplined, and I need him to be stronger with the ball. I thought last night he was stronger with the ball. Sometimes he's real loose. Any little tap and the ball is go out near the concession stand. I didn't see that last night, and I agree with you, Geoff. The effort is there. 18 rebounds. He was engaged. He was working. He wasn't giving up, but he was not smart, and he has not been smart, and he has not been disciplined. But he's not the only issue. I think he's being scapegoated, quite frankly. I'm not saying that the criticism is not fair. It is. I just think it's unbalanced, where it's just staying with him and not being spread around.
True. I think
Anything you want to add?
yeah, just on watching Cat, and I think the team is picking that up as well, is his lack of discipline to hustle out to his man. He's a lot more comfortable lagging back into the paint. That is not a defensive principle, because you can't have that principle. Not when your man is standing out there in the 3-point, and everybody knows it and sees it. And then, everybody else is trying to hustle into a scramble. Also, I'm not sure if Cat is injured in a certain way or not. So, there's that. And I don't think that he, as you say, it's so frustrating with him, because, it's hard for me to even get the words out. Like Geoff, you talked about that kick. That kick was so wide and such an angle. And people, I'm sitting around in at the place, and people's like, you think that's going to be a I'm like, 100% it's going to be a technical foul, because you can see the over exaggeration of the kick. It's not like his leg needed to go that way. If he had just tilted it a little bit more, he totally misses the guy. But those guys were going at it the whole game. So it's whew. Let me take a deep breath here. This is how bad it is, because it was just bad. But even Brunson shouldn't have been back last night. You could tell. Like, his defensively, you could see that the ankle, he was laboring. Like, he hides it well, but he was laboring. But he can't hide it well on defense, because he was getting, a lot of it too. He was getting cooked. He was in a scramble. He didn't know what to do, where to be. They have zero discipline when it comes to defense. So telling them to do their job, what is their job? I question it all across the board. What is their job? Because I still haven't been able to figure it out. It was by the second quarter, I really stopped watching whoever had the ball, and I only what's name, and then I actually videotaped quite a bit of it. I would videotape the defensive end each time that they would go down a lot. I would videotape just the defensive end, just to because and I still haven't had a chance to really look it over because by the time I got back in, you're trying to wind down, you're exhausted in a sense, and I don't know how to even express it. It's going to take me a little bit to, I put down some notes to even get it together, but it was bad. Even from all personnel stance, Hart looked like he was lost. Once again, Hart did not even think about until the second half of bringing his offensive game at all. I'm trying to remember how many shots that he even took in the first half.
In the first half, he only took like 5.
So, and I believe that probably 3 or 4 of those must have came in the second half. So when he does stuff like that, it hurts us. I don't get why he has these mental blocks, and it hurts us. And the double lineup with the 2 bigs looks terrible.
We got it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
that they got me. They really got me this time.
I know. You said so much, and so where do you want us to piggyback off of? Because you talked about Brunson, and then you talked about the double big lineup.
The double big lineup. That's more. I think that is more important because when you see it without Kolek, it looks so. It's just not. It's not run well on the offensive end at all. Like it's just. It's horrible. Say about it. But somewhere right now, Tibbs is sitting with a Mai Tai on a beach, laughing his off at us right now, I believe. Yeah.
Listen, 2 things could be true.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
That Tom Thibodeau needed to go, and perhaps Mike Brown wasn't the right guy. I still think it's too early to come to that conclusion. But when it comes to Tom Thibodeau, if the players don't support you and you don't have a relationship with the front office, and I think that's why he was let go. You don't even get to X's and O's, right? I think that was the main thing. And so if that is the case, you do need to go. Whether or not Mike Brown is the guy to lead the Knicks to a championship, remains to be seen. Geoff, any thoughts on the double big lineup?
I've not been a fan of it. I think that it's had some stretches lately where it's been a lot better. And maybe it's what Nick Nation said that it was Kolek in there with them, but I've not liked the way that Kolek has played in, since the NBA Emirates Cup game when he was really good. I think for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just they're scouting on him now and the league just kind of like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do to shut him down. Like, it felt like a poor man's Linsanity run for Tyler, but I don't, he's not getting many minutes right now, and I think that's deserved, in my opinion. I think he was awful the other night when we played him, and he just looks overwhelmed and overpowered. So I'm not really, I'm not really sure about that. I just don't like the double big lineup because I think that it's not overly effective, and I consider Towns best as a 5 and not a 4, and I just don't. I don't think the chemistry is there between he and Robinson, although Robinson played probably the best of any Knick last night, and I thought he had, if everybody played like Mitch did yesterday, we would have won that game going away. He was on one last night, but again, even with Mitch, you see an effort like that, then he's got his load management issues, and then he'll have times when he goes to the back of the milk carton, right? It was just like, where was Mitch tonight? And his rim protection has not really been there for whatever reason. I don't know if he's too far away from the rim in the defensive scheme where he gets into the play too late, or, I saw one play where I think the guy put it so high off the glass, I thought it was going to hit the ceiling and put it in. But, in general, it feels like teams are attacking the paint whether Robinson is there or not, and they're scoring. It's a frustration to me, and I'm not blaming Mitchell Robinson per se. I'm just saying that we're getting beat at the point of attack, and he's not able to clean up the messes. And I think part of it is he doesn't quite have that same athleticism that he had prior to the ankle surgery. I don't think he moves quite as well, maybe a half a step slow, but that half a step is the difference between him getting over to block the shot and him giving up the layup. I mean, I thought his rebounding was excellent. I thought, especially on the offensive end, he was, I think he had 10 of our 31 points at one point during the game, or 12 of them, maybe even, and he had a double-double, I think, in the first half. At halftime, I think it was 12 and 12, and nobody else did a blasted thing. And so, and I want to be clear, like, this isn't Cat's fault specifically. Jalen Brunson was getting hunted yesterday, as Knick Nation already pointed out, and he was bad defensively. You can say part of that is his ankle or whatever, but we in the playoffs last year, that was what the Pacers did, was hunt Brunson constantly, get him in pick and roll and those sorts of things. So it's not necessarily an ankle issue. OG and McCall, everybody is to blame here. This is a breakdown because all of the players are failing at their jobs. It's not just one guy or another guy. It's everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to OG and Bridges, who I'm starting to come to the conclusion, and shout out to JJ, who got here well before I did, that they are just not who we thought they would be or hoped they would be. I know JJ is focusing on defensively, but I'm just saying offensively, they're just not who, and I'm not arguing about the defense, but they're not who I thought they would be offensively. And, last year there was a lot of complaints that we weren't allowing them to rock. We were just keeping them in the corner, and they can do more than that. And okay, now we're in a new system where they are allowed to do more than that, and they have been doing more than that. And now we can see they ain't that. And for OG, I think it's just he just does not have the handle to consistently get to where he wants to get to. And there are some games when he can, but if teams specifically focus on him and put a good defender on him, that his shot creation is gone. And Mikal Bridges, who I believe has that ability, just does not have the mentality. That's just not who he is. He is content to be one of those players that just take it as it comes. And I don't think the Knicks, when they traded for Mikal Bridges, they knew he didn't go to the line a lot, right? He averages 2 free throws for his career, right? So everybody who's all up in arms about that, that's who he's been his entire career. Don't expect him to be something different now. However, I think they did think that he would be a secondary ball handler. He would be a secondary playmaker. And sometimes you do see that, just not enough. And for sure, they thought he had the ability to step up offensively, being a number one in Brooklyn. And you can argue that he wasn't a great number one, but he knows what it's like. And when Brunson is out, you would expect that he would step up because he has experience in that role. And you don't see that at all. And so perhaps last year, Tom Thibodeau was like, I already know who these guys are. I'm running my offense through Brunson and Cat. I'm putting those guys in the corner. They're going to shoot the corner 3 and attack closeouts. That's it. I am not putting the ball in their hand for extended periods. I just don't think we're going to be an efficient offense with that. That's my take on it. I could be wrong. Both of them could be in a slump. And when we were talking about the end of the season, like, wow, we were really wrong. These guys are it. They were just going through something. But I'm starting to think that you can't count on them offensively game in and game out. And that's why our offense is tanking. There's no reason why this team, full complement of players last night, scored 97 points. 97 points. Another game, we scored 99. Like, we're talking about the defense, but the offense has been tanking as well. And Cat has something to do with that, but so has Bridges and OG have something to do with that as well. And I just want to just point this out. The last 10 games, and I should have did 11, right? Because we're 2-9 over our last 11. But the last 10 games, the Knicks are 22nd in 3-point percentage, 29th in field goal percentage, and 27th in offensive rating. 27th in offensive rating. Like, why is that? Why is a team last night where everyone is available scores 97 points? The defense is broken, but now the offense is broken. Seems to be. Anyway, any thoughts on OG Bridges and just the offense in general?
I'll let you
Go
go,
ahead,
Jeff.
Nick Nation.
You want to go, or you want me to go?
Go ahead. I want to hear
Okay.
what you have to say.
The as far as on offense, Mikhail and OG, they both like to attack up. You know what I mean? From the free throw line coming down, neither one of them are very good at attacking from the baseline. A lot of times when you share the floor with Brunson, you're not getting that opportunity to, to come from that angle. So I think that hurts their offensive game. OG is definitely much better when he comes from the free throw line coming down. His attack style, his ability to cross over a player, his ability to bump a player and get into the lane. But the major problem for a lot of these guys is when you lump them all together, a lot of them do the same thing. They don't pass well out of the double team at all. To me, it's like they don't know where their players should be. They don't have the proper angle. I've seen Hart do it at some time, but if you notice when Hart does it, Hart's more of a bit of an athlete that can twist his waistline up in midair and then toss the ball to players and, get them a pass. But then a lot of those times too, because players know when you go to jump in the air to pass the ball, they're waiting on you. They're jumping into the passing lanes. But on a consistent basis, particularly Towns, he does not pass out of it. I looked yesterday, there were 3, 4 players around him. He still would not give up that rock. It's like he was still laboring to take the shot, fall on the floor, whatever it may be. And a lot of times, Brunson will do it on occasion, but not enough. So those where you saw the lobs that go to Mitch, you saw a few of those, but then it's far few in between, and then the pass to the out to to the corner baseline, they got yesterday, they were already on top of that. It was bad. Like, our guys had no real space to shoot. They had ability to attack, but then we don't have a lot of great players to stop, at a point and take that mid-range shot. So there's so many problems all over that I could keep talking for an hour and hit different subjects on each different person. But that's my what's name as far as on it, and I'll leave it over to you, Jeff.
Well, just before we get to Jeff, you spoke a little bit about OG and how he likes to attack from the top. And with Brunson being there, he doesn't really have that opportunity all the time. That's a great point. Thank you for pointing that out. What about Bridges? What do you think is the issue with Bridges offensively?
Well, Bridges offensively, we already know because we talked about that the other day. Bridges is not going to be that player because Bridges is going to be that player. His attack is, if he gets to the midpoint of the paint, that's it. He's never fully attacking. I please somebody show me where he's leaning down and, get to the point of like a layup where the defense is set. You know what I mean? If it's a scramble point, he might be able to get there, on a break, he'll do it. But otherwise, And to me, that hurts the team because players know exactly your tendencies. Like you say, they got $1 million coaches that are just here to pick up your tendencies. And then they know that Mikhail is going to take that mid-range shot. That's just what he is. He's learned to try to that's why it's a running shot. You know what I mean? if you notice that's what his mid-range shot, it's a running mid-range shot because he's still, he knows that players are picking it up and knows his tendencies. But if at one point in time he kept going, he would get the foul call almost every time because the players point to his tendencies. And his shot is a lot of times you could be a bad, a lot as they say, the right word is a good shot, a bad shot, good maker, but the percentages at points in time sometimes catch up to you. And I just think at this time it's catching up to Mikal. And his defense, it's average right now at best. Average. I mean, because he's not adept at getting over it. But I can't blame him because, like I say, it's the principle of it. If you go back to last year, just look at how Tibbs attacks it, how Tibbs attacks the pick and roll. You know what I mean? And how that Mitchell Robinson or even Cat, they jump out immediately. They jump out. I mean, it's a full jump out, and they spread their arms, and it's just enough to get that player to stagger a bit, as opposed to immediately coming off of it and getting directly downhill. Go back and watch the games. When those guys are coming off, they're going directly downhill. They get into the paint. By that time, it's lost already. Najee came down quite a few times. Brunson was already sitting in the paint. Najee just said like this, I'm not going to take you on, little man. It's too late already. Boop, and popped him. So I could keep going on. Geoff?
I think he hit on something that's really important, and that's the turnovers. I think that the starters had 15 turnovers in that game last night, and those, and a lot of them unforced, just, and some of it is Towns offensive fouls, some of it is Brunson terrible passes, some of it is not just, OG, dribbling the ball off his foot, which seems to happen at least once a game, and so everybody kind of, and I don't know that you can blame every game on that, but I do think that in the most lopsided losses, the high uptick in turnovers has been a story in each and every one of them. We got to take care of the ball. We've got to take more shots. We've got to win the possession game just like we did last year. And I think shot wise, we weren't terrible in the Dallas game. We just didn't make anything from three compared to they made everything. But I think that's true as far as OG's offense is concerned. Like, he's been super aggressive the last couple of games, but aggressive doesn't always translate to good. And I just think his aggressive hasn't been good or impactful. Like, I think that it more looks like he's trying to go one-on-one, which isn't really his strength, instead of playing within the flow of the offense. And where is the ball movement and the driving and the kicking that was super effective? I mean, I think David Smith said it right. We're 11-1 when we have 30 plus assists. Let's get the ball moving. Like, where is that ball movement? But the ball movement isn't there because the player movement isn't there, right? It's the player movement is what creates the open spot, which gets you to the spots you need to go when we're just hanging out in the corner, or we're just taking our guy one-on-one and the other four guys get to stand around and watch, which, maybe not last game, but 2 games ago, I thought really was the case with Anunoby's game. It becomes more predictable, and you're not playing to your strength as a team either. Because we don't have guys who attack the paint well off the dribble. I mean, I think Brunson does it. Brunson can do it, and Clarkson can do it, but Clarkson hasn't really been really good lately. I don't know what the explanation for that is.
Understatement.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand, Knick Nation. I try to be really nice about Clarkson because I was really at the beginning of the year. I was like, "Why did we sign this guy? He's an overrated chuck." So I try and err on the side of him because I don't want my personal bias for his archetype as a player to shine through too much. But you know, sometimes you are what your record says you are, and you know he pretty much is that. And you're not getting anything from Yabusele either. You know, I mean, he only made it in garbage time minutes, and so those are, you know, that means you're relying on your starters to do more, and the starters are doing less, and so it's absolute failure from top to bottom.
And listen, remember, the front office signed those two before they had a coach.
Yeah,
that's true. I didn't think about that, but yeah,
true.
This is the front office. You know, you want collaboration, and I agree with that. I think that the front office, the coach, the players all need to be in lockstep. I agree with that. But with collaboration, the person who knows the most about a particular area should get a say and maybe even the final say. So a coach can come in and like, oh, this is the play I want, blah, 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 blah. But the front office knows about the cap, flexibility, things of that sort. I hear you, coach. We'll do our best to try to get that type of play, but I don't think we can get this one because of what it does to. So they get the final say, but the coach has a, you know, has a word. When it comes to what happens on the court, sure, as a front office, you could say, man, you know, you playing these guys a lot of minutes, you know, I'm not sure how that's going to work for us down the line. They have every right to say that. Or listen, we got to try to mix these young guys in there. The way the collective bargaining agreement is, you know, we're going to need some of them a year or two down the line to actually be in our rotation. So see what you could do right now. I think that's fair. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can dictate that. You know, at the end of the day, the coach is in the trenches trying to win games, and he should take that into consideration. And I think Mike Brown has as well. But you notice last game, it was 8. Because sometimes you just got to tighten it up. Sometimes, particularly when you're losing, there's no room, you know, for error. There's no room for development right now. We'll get back to that. But right now, we've lost 9 of 11. So you notice Kolek is out of the rotation. And this is a discussion we had, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. When the team is whole, Kolek has played so well. Will he be a part of the rotation? And now we see he was out of the rotation. We got hurt, injuries. He was in the rotation. We're back whole. He's out of the rotation. So Mike Brown has landed. Maybe took him some time. He experimented a little bit, but he's landed on some of the same things Tom Thibodeau has landed on. Tighten rotation. I'm not sure this team is it, you know, in terms of there may be some roster construction issues. So I just need to like this is what we're gonna do to limit errors. And I think the front office has to be part of this conversation as well. I guess when we do the weekly show, you know, we'll talk about that. Where do you guys want to go next before we get to the chat?
Only thing that I have is to, if you guys remember, the defense and the offensive coordinator, were those Mike Brown hires or was that the organization hires?
Great point. I don't remember.
I have no idea. That's a great question, but I don't have any idea if I don't remember.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, in your system, there are groundbreaking principles that, you know, certain little details that may be getting lost. Because when you watch the offense, you know, you'll see the offense evolve a bit and you'll see the motion, but then there's no screens, no cuts for anybody that's off the ball, which that to me worries me because that's where you cause confusion on a defense. And usually you get somebody to pop open or there's a, you know what I mean, a back screen down, what's the name, point to the basket. We don't get those things. And it's, you know, it's gotten so disheartening seeing there's no easy baskets for us. Nothing's easy. On the other end, that team, can't tell you how many easy baskets they got. It was, that to me is disheartening.
Well, again, how do you get easy baskets? You get easy baskets either because you turn the ball over and you get going the other way, or you clean the glass, you get the rebound, and you push it quickly. If all you're doing is taking the ball out of the net, then you're not going to get easy baskets, because even if you get, they're pressuring the Knicks 94 feet to prevent them from getting across the timeline in 3 seconds, and we don't seem to want to just make 2 quick passes to make that happen, which is beyond me. I don't really understand that from a schematic. Like we allow them to just ride whoever the ball handler is all the way up the court, instead of just bring some help, get a quick outlet, and go. Like I don't really feel like that should be that problematic, but apparently it is. And then I kind of feel like that with Yabusele and Clarkson, they're kind of like Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker. Right. They're guys that are talented players, but they were brought in and we didn't really know what the system was. And now, as Queen pointed out, and now the system is here and they are, round pegs and square holes, and they're, that's the majority of your bench. And so you either have to retool and kind of, figure out a way to turn them into pieces that are more conducive to what you're trying to do, or maybe change your scheme to better fit what they do well. And they both do have strengths that I'm not sure that we're utilizing, but they're role players. You don't really set the game plan to maximize your role players. You set the game plan to maximize your stars, and the role players fill their roles. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation there. But I don't really know what the solution is per se, but they certainly haven't added to the mix as much as we had hoped. And the other thing is that we don't really run the system most of the time. Like the ball principles that we saw 10 games ago, 15 games ago, they're not doing those things. Not nearly the way they should. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would imagine if you track the dribble penetrations and the sprays, I bet they're way down. It doesn't look like that's what we're doing on offense at all. And I know that's like that's of all the principles that Mike Brown has talked about, that's the one core that he seems to consistently harp on, and that's not happening right now. It doesn't matter who's in the lineup. So why is that?
2 things. I would say another way to get easy shots is to have players who have an advantage or create an advantage, right? So when Brunson gets in the key and he draws to the ball, that creates an advantage. If Karl-Anthony Towns is getting double teamed, that creates an advantage. And if he's able to locate the player really quickly and they put the shot up, that, you have an advantage there. They did double team Towns last night. I'm not sure. He wasn't great at locating the players, but that's not every night. And so there are times when Brunson is the only one that's creating advantages for us. And then if he's not playing because he's hurt, get it. Like the game we didn't have Brunson and we didn't have Hart, who was creating advantages for us? Nobody, really. So I think that's a part of it as well. And Nick Nation and even Freezy say that the offense, I've heard both of them say the offense is kind of vanilla. And that was the criticism last year as well. I wonder how much of it is just the players not being able to deal with advanced offensive concepts. And that's why the offense is vanilla. 2 different coaches, 2 different vanilla offenses. And Mike Brown comes in. He even talked about it. We got to start with the basics, and once they learn how to read and things like that, then we can start putting in more advanced concepts. And he's come in as an offensive coach who's been a part of those Golden State teams that won championships and ran good offense. And you can argue that part of it is just not having those players. I think that's part of it as well. But I wonder if some of it is the offensive IQ of these players. Once teams start cutting off options, right? Because when the first option is easy, but once teams start cutting off options, what's your process then? Are you able to stay in there, stay locked in, work it until you find what actually is open? That's been a complaint of mine for the Knicks forever.
Okay.
Easy teams that can't stop the first option. Knicks, as soon as you get a team shut down, first, second option, the Knicks now they don't know what to do. Now is Brunson going like one-on-one. With this team, at least initially, I thought there was enough offensive players on this team that if you stay with it, work your process, go through your reads, like a quarterback almost, you'll be able to find what's open. So I think that has to be part of the discussion as well.
It's like almost like they've given up to in certain ways. It doesn't. You don't see the spirit. You don't see the heart. You don't see the grind like that. Where that no matter what, I'm going to get downhill on this play. No matter what, I'm going to work through that foul. You just don't see it. You just don't see it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, we'll get to the chat too, but do you think some of the lack of discipline is due to the different personality styles of the coaches, or you don't really think that's a factor? Personality style of Mike Brown, I should say.
Could be.
But to me, there seems like there's something behind the Oz wall that we don't know about, but the players may know about. And to me, when things like this start happening, especially around this time, they're getting whispers from their agents. And when you're getting whispers from your agents, at times, I believe that this could affect players, this could affect the team. I think, like you say, once that February 5th deadline comes, just like across the league, you begin to see how players play and then the movement, how things, just kind of pan out. And right now, it just seems like these guys it doesn't seem like they like each other. They are not playing for each other. And something is off. I don't know if they had there was some kind of beef. Somebody was talking about whatever it may be, but there seems to be something that is not cohesive at all. Prior to the cup, we looked like we were cohesive. What's names? After the cup, we're, that highway is splitting up.
Yeah.
So,
and a matter of fact, how soon after did we play San Antonio the second time in the regular season game? Because I felt like that from the fourth quarter of that San Antonio game.
New Year's Eve.
Oh, that was New Year's Eve?
Yes.
And now it's been like a free fall.
Yes. It's like
I'm wondering, what do you think? I have a theory about that. What do you guys think about this? What if it's a difference? In other words, we sometimes there's a pendulum when it comes to these things, and Thibodeau is the disciplinarian and everything, you know what I mean? And he's really hard on the players and everything, and that kind of keeps them in line. And what if it's just too relaxed now, and it's like they're not, you know what I mean? And they're not worried about, well, coach isn't going to be mad at me either way. So, or he's, I'm not really going to get an earful, so there's not maybe that attention to detail. That's kind of the pendulum swinging because he kind of feels like Mr. Nice Guy sometimes, especially with the media. I don't know if that's the way he is with his players or not. I mean, he does call them out. Like, I don't like how he's talked about Towns, especially lately. But I just think that maybe he's too nice guy. He's too much the opposite direction away from Tibbs, and that he's too much Mr. Nice Guy. And this team kind of needs someone to put their foot in it, so to speak, and kind of. I think they require more discipline, and they're not being tasked with that, and so they're not disciplined.
I'll tag off on that and just say, unlike Brown, I haven't heard this. And this is where I wish there was some reporter or somebody who would give us a little bit more insight as far as, with Tibbs, you always heard this with Tibbs, always across the board. He will make sure you are prepared for that team, and I mean, particularly on defense. And he literally gives a test, from what I understand, about where if you don't know a particular player or particular players that you will have to defend, if you don't know their tendencies and where their what's name is, he's not looking to play you. And I don't know if that's where we're at with Brown. And that's where I would love to if somebody could give us more of an insight on that part.
Yeah. 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 All right. Let's get to the chat, who's been really rocking and active today. I
Mhm.
tried to put up as many of them as I could during the during the show. Latoria B, and if salary is on the table, we're talking about, I believe this is about Cat's performance relative to his salary. And if salary is on the table, OG, McKell, and Hart make good money too. So let's hold them all to the same standards. Yeah, that's a good point. I just
Are they
think,
being held to any standard is my question. Doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
yeah, and I just think once you sign your contract, now it's just about playing. You signed it for whatever you signed it for, even if it was $2 million, you signed it. It's time to get to work,
Did
regardless.
y'all see the video when you might not have because you were at the game, Nick Nation, but there's at that one timeout early in the second quarter where Brunson is kind of sitting down and all of the players are just kind of like looking lost around him, and then he's like, "No, guys, come in here," and like trying to. I don't know. That visual kind of summed up the season. Or this portion of the season pretty well. And the other one is we had a possession late in the fourth quarter. I think we dribbled and stumbled and fell and rolled away, and we hustled after it and didn't get it, and it wound up in a 3-pointer. I was like, yeah, those two plays or those two visuals kind of epitomize where we're at as a ball club right now.
And does that say anything about Brunson's leadership? He's the captain of the team. He's speaking, and they're not listening. Is he part of if there is a fraction in the locker room? And I'm not saying that there is, but it sure seems to be something going on. Oh boy, I froze. Can you guys still?
Yeah, I see that you're frozen. We can hear you though.
Oh, there you don't. Okay.
We're hearing you right now.
That is that saying something about his leadership, that he's speaking, he's the captain of the team, and they don't want to hear him? Or is it just they were just frustrated in that moment and they didn't want to hear anyone?
That's that's a difficult psyche to delve into, because he's their captain and he's still beloved by them. I just don't know if it's one person, if it's two people, who knows? It's a mystery to all of us right now. We just know that we got to be better, and right now we won't make the playoffs at this rate. We all know that, and that's concerning, considering that we were supposed to be, number one in the East, and to fall off a cliff so fast and so quickly. We're all in shock. Like, what do we do? What's next? We're all waiting for, some kind of hero, some kind of trade. And at this late stage, I think that we are too far into the tunnel to even probably pull back. This might be a wasted, what we would consider a wasted year, because I'm trying to find an avenue or road where we turn this around.
Right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I'm not
see
sure
your picture.
what's going on with my what's going on with my video.
No worries. That picture's got you got $1 million smile right there.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm not feeling like that though. Wiz BKLA, better question. Who is the vocal veteran championship pedigree in the locker room? That's a good point. Do you guys think we need that?
Yes.
We don't need PJ Tucker though. If you want a veteran championship pedigree leader, it's got to be somebody who can help you on the court and not just off. I don't want someone who's just, we're just signing them to be like an assistant coach. Like if you want to talk about, a championship pedigree kind of guy, let's have someone who's going to get in there and muck it up and be in the wars with us and lead by example and not just talk. Because I think that this team does too much talking and not enough acting.
Yeah.
I don't know, Geoff. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nick Nation.
No, only thing I think is if just to harp on what Geoff said, as far as we need a veteran player, but a veteran player perhaps who has been in this type of system and who can tell these guys from a player standpoint of view is, hey, that's what you're doing wrong here, or that's what's missing here. Somebody who has at least come close to mastering point of that system. Because just to get anybody, they will come in and they'll be the same confused person as well, veteran or not.
Yeah. But I don't know, Geoff, even if the player can't play, I just go back to that the Denver championship when they had DeAndre Jordan in that locker room and there was another veteran in that. They didn't play much. I mean, he might have put them in ever so often. They didn't play much, but they commanded respect in that locker room. And when they won the championship, the players actually talked about how helpful they were. So I think it's the right type of player. A lot of times those players tend to be long in the tooth. So how much minutes are you going to get out of them anyway? And those who have that championship experience and are still able to play, you're going to have to give up rotation players to get them. And I'm not adverse to that as well. Like, so for example, somebody like a Drew Holiday, who I would love to have on this team. He, he's not who he used to be, but he could probably give you some, some good minutes. But you're going to have to trade somebody for him. Like, he's not at that point in his career where you could just sign him and then he's sitting on the end of the bench and you didn't have to give up anything for him. You're going to have to give up, something for him. But a Drew Holiday type player, to your point, I guess that's what you're talking about, Geoff. They can give you a little something and still be.
Yes, that's the ultimate example of the type of player I was talking about. Actually, that I didn't have a specific player in mind necessarily, but that's the perfect example.
I give up my left kidney for him right now.
Listen,
kidney function is important, Nick Nation.
But you only need one. You can make it with one, Geoff.
I'm the ultimate competitor. I give it I'm taking it for the team. For the team. I'm a real fan.
I will say this. I'm starting to believe that the Knicks' best shot at winning a championship is to pair Brunson with a Drew Holiday type player next to him. Somebody who could defend the point of attack, who can run the offense. Either one of them can run the offense. It doesn't even have to be Brunson has to be off the ball all the time. But with both of them, any one of them could bring it up. Any one of them could run the offense, and he could defend the point of attack. And now with some size and some physicality, and now OG and Mikel may be better defensively because now they're playing the passing lanes, playing wing players where they are at their best, and that's what I was hoping for when we signed Clarkson. I know he fell in our lap and the Knicks, oh my God, we need bench scoring. He's here. Let's get him. But I really thought the number one thing we needed to do was to find somebody who could play with Brunson and behind Brunson as a tall defensive guard who can run the show. And I'm starting to think not only is that something we could use, that's the path to a championship in my opinion, that type of player.
I actually honestly think that more than a player, we need a coach that was similar to, oh man, I'm such bad with names here. Remember, he was our coach and then he went to Indiana, but then we brought him in and he kind of helped stabilize.
Woody?
Yes, we need like a Woody, to somebody who he endures to, and that can be a bridge between the two and actually help him. Because to me, otherwise, this year, I believe it could be possibly a loss. But if you brought in somebody like that, maybe they could actually, get Cat to stabilize him and get him on the right track. Because you could just see how fast, how with Randall, when he would center Randall, how Randall was a different player.
Right.
But once once he left, it's like Randall, right back off the road. And to me, it just seems like we need to bring something here. Because if you're paying $54 million for a guy to say here to a coach, here, here's $2 million. Hey, if you can fix this $54 million, you deserve $2-3 million just for being the psychiatrist of this player. And to me, that might be an answer that, we could use.
To your point, there's been reports by Steve Papa that the Knicks are looking to move Towns, and they've spoken to the Memphis Grizzlies. They've spoken to Orlando. They've spoken to Charlotte. I will say this: if you trade Towns, two things. You better be sure Towns is the issue and not the coach. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, you better bring in a 1 or 1A or a number 2. And I'm not sure Memphis, Orlando, or Charlotte has that. Brunson already has a lot of mouth to feed, where he's the only one generating offense and everyone is playing off of him. If you're going to trade Towns, you need to bring in another number 1, A or B, or bring in a number 2 that can generate offense and be a true companion, a true player that can complement Brunson. You cannot trade Cat for a bunch of role players and expect that OG and Mikal Bridges are going to step into that number 2 role. I just don't think that's them.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
Escobedo and I had a good debate on Twitter about that last night. Actually, he proposed multiple deals, and I didn't respond to him well, but I kind of I said that the deals were pennies on the dollar. I didn't. It wasn't really accurate, but I don't think you can make a trade involving Towns where you're only getting 70% of the player that he is. Like I just think that it puts too much pressure on Brunson, and we've seen, when he's the only offensive hub, we've seen how that breaks down against Miami in the playoffs multiple years ago, and so forth and so on. And so I agree with Queen. If you're sending Towns out of the building, it's got to be bringing back someone who's a star caliber player, and not just three pieces that are smaller contracts that are supposed depth. Like it's I don't know that cyber trade is going to work.
Yeah, unless you feel like you have a number 2 in the building already,
and we don't.
No,
we don't.
Yeah, no.
I am Jerrell. Appreciate you. With a veteran team like this, discipline shouldn't have to be a conversation. That is a fact.
Facts.
Give a mouse a cookie.
A-Train. I said it before. Knicks literally dropped the ball on New Year's Eve, and it's been rolling downhill ever since.
That's the meatball that went off the table and onto the floor and out the door.
Sis, she knows basketball, but she's also our resident comedian, man. Yeah, absolutely. Quiet Money feels we got to trade Brunson and his friends while his value is still high, because we will not win a championship with him and the alpha role he has on this team. I disagree with that, but I think you need to have somebody else with Brunson. And I think it's time to have the conversation whether Cat is that person. And I'm not just talking about Cat's struggle right now. I'm just talking about the 2 years we've seen them. They just really haven't worked. well together.
I think that we need to not be beholden to Mikal, Hart, and Brunson. I think that's the thing. I think that we need to be willing to break up the Nova Knicks, if you will. I think that, and I'm not blaming any one of them. I just, it just feels like the Super Friends thing is not working for whatever reason, and I think maybe it's time to find someone, that fits better next to JB than Mikal does.
Yeah. East Blue Drew. I also hate revisionist history because Tibbs had us down 20 in a lot of games last year as well.
I get it.
Yeah. It just wasn't this long. Like I never really. There were times when I would question their effort, but not for an extended period of time. But you're right, East Blue Drew. There has been a lot of revisionist history when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. A lot of fans who wanted him gone now want him back. I think the same issues remain. The same issues remain, and I think it's too early to give up on Mike Brown. And like I said earlier, Thibodeau had to go. If the play, this is what we're talking about now. Like Brown may have lost the players, right? Thibodeau didn't have enough support, going out the door, and sorry, didn't have enough support going out the door. Some said even from Rick Brunson, um, you know, and he didn't have a relationship with the front office, so he needed to go. He needed to go.
Steph, do you have a particular date or a line or percentage of games for you would say, hey, I think I'm out on Brown, or are you willing to give him the full year and going into next year if we're still looking like this?
I would. I think you. I think so. Now, like people are, oh, he gets to the end of January. No, I know. He doesn't. I think you have to give him the full season, and then I think you also have to give him his type of players. Maybe this roster, is just not his players. Maybe he wouldn't have signed Yabusele. Maybe he wouldn't have signed Clarkson. Maybe he is behind a trade, a cat trade. I think you have to give him his type of players. I don't think Dolan is going to be patient though. The Knicks lose in the first round, or the Knicks are in the play-in, or they are 1.5 games out of the play-in. Oh my goodness, y'all know my condition. I forgot to put this in. They're 1.5 games out of the play-in right now.
Yeah.
How many
and 1.5 games out of the 2 seed.
Right.
Crazy enough.
But do you think this front office would do it? Like, does he have like that Parcell cachet where, if I'm going to cook, you know what I mean, let me buy the groceries too? I'm not sure if they would give him that kind of cachet.
No, but they would at least, don't you think they would at least listen to him if he says, like, I need another ball handling guard, or I need this type of player in my system? Do you think he doesn't have to like dictate it, but do you think they would listen to him?
That's the part where remains to be seen.
How many coaches have been fired after just one season?
Well, Adrian Griffin and Don Nelson were fired in season, so I know those are the names that are bandied about right now. But
with Milwaukee, what was the guy in Milwaukee? He had a winning record. Yeah, he was fired with a winning record.
Brown got fired after 5 games in LA in his second stop. So this isn't even new territory for him.
Wow. And let me tell you, Dolan is an owner who would probably be okay with that. But at some point, you got to start looking at Leon Rose too. You go through, you fire Tom Thibodeau. If Brown doesn't make it through, one season, at what point do you start looking at the front office and looking at Leon Rose and the roster they constructed?
I personally think Dolan doesn't want the smoke. That's what I just personally think. That's why I think he won't fire Leon Rose in that sense. I just think that he'll hold on to him for quite a bit because you could just tell by the interview points of him. He really doesn't want the smoke anymore. And he knows once if he fires him and can't bring in somebody who has as much as cachet or even more, that smoke is coming to him again. And I think he's doing whatever he has to do to avoid it.
Yeah. Reese Anderson, nah, we're gonna make the playoffs. We just gonna lose in the first round to the Heat or the Bulls. Quiet money, and then we got to get out of here. I know I'm taking up a lot of you guys' time. I would definitely trade Cap for JJ, but Memphis would never do that. I'm not that big on Jaren Jackson Jr. either, and I get his rim protection. He's just not a good rebounder, and he can hit the three. I'm not sure he's a great post player either. I would have to give that some thought, but on face value, I don't think he's a number. I don't think he would be a number 2. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He occupies the space right below Cat and right above Bridges in terms of impact. Like, I think he's kind of a tweener as far as that goes. And the thing about it is, you make that trade, where do the rebounds come from? We're already a team that struggles on the glass, it's when he's not in the lineup. So where do you replace? Towns one of the top rebounders in the game, top 5 for sure. Where JJJ is not that. I mean, and so he is a better rim protector, and you'll get better defense as far as that's concerned. But who's going to clean the glass? That would be my big question.
Geoff, you're exactly right. He's number 5 on the rebounding list. You named a few teams. The only person that I really, like out of maybe on the Hornets, would you take a Brandon Miller, for Cat? Would you make Brandon Miller a number 2 option?
Is Brandon Miller
I like Brandon
number 2 option? Like,
I like Brandon Miller. I don't know if he's there yet. I would prefer him over Mikal Bridges, quite frankly.
Because I don't know who else on that teams that you would say, oh yeah, I'm gonna, bring me that, give me that guy. I don't know.
Right.
I'm curious if the contact was in the context of a Giannis trade or something like that. In other words, them being a facilitator for the player that we want, as opposed, because we don't always get the full skinny or the full scoop. But if they're if the Bucks don't want Towns, but they're like, if you can get us some other young pieces, maybe Triple J is attractive to them, and then you can get some maybe draft picks going this way or that, then maybe that's a facilitation of a larger deal as opposed to just a one-on-one. And I'm not in the room where it happens, so I have no idea. Maybe they are just looking straight up 1-for-1 trade, but there's not anybody on any of those 3 teams that I think makes us legitimately better by shipping out Towns. And maybe that's an incorrect assessment on my part, but that's the way that I look at it. But if it's part of a 3 or a 4 team trade where a lot of moving parts and you get someone like Giannis in there, which is, in my opinion, the front office has shown, if they're going to trade a player like Julius Randle, they're going to trade for somebody who they think is an improvement. They're not going to break it down into pieces that are smaller.
Yeah. A few more, and then we got to get out. We got to get out of here. Latoria B, that clip didn't seem like they weren't listening. I thought they were engaged. It just did not translate on the court. B Willis, appreciate you, sis, walking with us. Your guard means so much to the game. Did you see the Cavs without Garland? We need a star to guard. We haven't had in a long time a point guard or a 2 guard. Okay. All right, Jabroni, this front office already had a wasted year under Tibbs. They can't afford to have another one without major changes. What's a wasted year? We got to the Eastern Conference Finals. That core is still here, so they have that experience. Winning a championship is a process. So getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, even if you don't win it and go to the finals, you kind of get a sense of what it takes, and you can build off of that the next year. So I'm not sure it was a wasted season. JJ, we signed Tucker because we're a soft team. Okay. Real King, 4918. lack of leadership. And I think that's this is Jeff. Bodega Wi-Fi, no more 6'4" and under players. Amen. All right. Any last words? And shout out to everybody. Keith Turner is in. I appreciate you. Ben said LGK. I wasn't able to find your the comment. Kev Berg, B. Willis, A Train, Sherwin, all of you guys. JJ, I appreciate you. Latoria B, Break Forever, and everybody else. Any last words?
Just beat Brooklyn.
Oh, if we
Just beat
that's
Brooklyn.
not a gimme game. That's not a gimme game, given how the Knicks have played.
And I'll tell you this, because I you know, I'm an honest person. I put in a chat. I actually last night that I hope we lose to the Nets, because I think it's going to take us to hit the ground floor. I mean, the bottom, before that there's really a point of a real shaker.
Wow. So you feel like this is not fixable internally?
I just think that, you know, we're at a stage of where, you know, there's still hope for where we can turn back, where a lot of us just see full despair of it. And there are so many flaws and so many things that we've been exposed, that I don't know that, you know, you can cover it up. You know, when you're in a submarine or you're in a ship and, hey, you're trying to patch up these lines for a time before you got to come up and say, hey, no, I need a new ship. And we're getting very close to it. And I just think that if, you know, all of a sudden we start becoming a 5-5 team and riding that out, you know, it doesn't, you know,
5-5 would be an improvement, Chief.
You know what I mean? Exactly. But that's not where but we all
I get what you're saying.
That's just not where you want to be, but I definitely get it for sure. So, you know what I mean? We you know, because we were supposed to be the elite this year, you know? And I think that's what's weighing on us. If they didn't put you that high on a pedestal and then, you know, snatch us back down, it may not feel as bad. But right now it just hurts.
Yeah. Jeff, any last words, or you said it already?
Thank you for hosting us, Knick Nation. Always great I love your takes in the way that you see the game in a way that's a lot different than me, and I learn a lot every time I get to hear you. So please don't be a stranger. Keep coming around, and salute to the chat and beat Brooklyn.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Jeff, and Steph. You know, I definitely appreciate you. Big shout out to the chat. You know what I mean? Good or bad, I love the energy that you guys bring. Absolutely. So always come into the house. Please like, subscribe, and share with people, please. You know, we're all building platforms here. And please pray for our Knicks. You know what I mean? You know,
light a candle, whatever you do.
Whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? You got that sage, get the sage going. Whoa! Get the sage going. Whatever y'all got to do. You know what I mean? A couple of Hail Marys. You know, whack comes the back. Whatever you got to do, my friend. Please get it done.
Reese Anderson. I don't think Toronto is taking back OG and Mikal. They love Scotty Barnes over there. And I don't, as much as Dillon Brooks has helped Phoenix and their identity, particularly on the defensive end, he's shooting better as well. I'm not trading both OG and Mikal for Dillon Brooks, but we can use a Dillon Brooks type player on this roster who's going to hit shots and play physical defense, but he can't do. Even him wouldn't be able to do it alone. You need more than that. Is there another comment, Jeff, you're laughing at?
Jerrell said, "Burning sage at my desk now. Fire alarm about to go
off." Yeah. Listen, Jeff, Knick Nation. You know, you two elevate this show and have elevated the channel as well. So I appreciate you two coming on. Appreciate your insights And, you know, shout out to the chat. Shout out to the replay gang. I read one comment before I came on. The replay gang is passionate too. Steph Brown is a bum. Like, enough. Like me hedging my bets, and I need to give him more time, and coaching is more dynamic. Like, he ain't want to hear none of it. I don't think he's a bum though. Shout out to the silent listeners as well. One who was so either frustrated or just felt like he needed to come in here and be a more than a silent listener. I appreciate you coming in as well. And we're gonna try to decide. Geoff, I put it in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, whether we should go on tonight or Thursday. I just feel like there's so much to talk about. By Thursday, sometimes the vibe changes. So we'll think about that, whether to move the Thursday show to tonight or not. I think that if we lose to Brooklyn,
there'll be even more to talk about.
there'll be even, we might have to come on Thursday too, you know? But yeah, I appreciate you both. Again, chat, replay gang, silent listeners. Until next time, peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope soul.
Where you at? Where you at?